Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. My name is Connor Moran, and today I will be going through the best locks of the NRL era. You know what? I didn't realise that this cut was as bad as what it was. I mean, it's only a small little cut, but gee, it was deep. I was shaving the other day. How embarrassing! 30 years old. Everyone occasionally cuts themselves shaving, but this was just like a bloodbath. I was in the shower, just blood just coming out, just going, oh my God. Put a band-aid over it for an hour, put pressure on it for an hour, and it's still bleeding non-stop. It was a deep cut. Yeah, I didn't realise. It's not bad, but it's deep. Anyway, I'm just being a bit of a wuss, but I tell you what, even today I was walking my son this morning and it was just bleeding again out of nowhere. Did some research. If anyone knows how to stop a shaving cut, please let me know because I don't always trust the internet. Did some research. I said, hey, this is getting bad. It will not stop bleeding. The cut itself's fine, but the blood is just such a hassle. It's such a pain in the ass. And they said, put lip gloss on it. All right, beautiful. That'll stop it. Go to my wife who's just got makeup everywhere. Have you got lip gloss?
No, honey, it's the one thing I don't have.
So I'm going to have to go to the shops later and get some lip gloss. Oh, good. I always ask my brother. He might have some. I'll write that down, actually. No. All right. I'm going to go into the best locks of the NRL era. This was hard. This was really hard. Fullbacks, wingers, centers, easy. Got to the halves. That was quite hard. Locks, I think, overtakes locks. Sorry, locks, I think, overtake the halfback position in terms of how hard this is going to be. For example, in my top three, I don't have Isaiah Yeo in there. I'll explain why. Corey Parker, incredible player, incredible lock forward with an amazing goal kicker, incredible defender, a lot of skill. Corey Parker, couldn't put him in there. Cameron Murray, haven't even got him in there. My top three will be many. It'll be completely different to most of you, which is fine. But I've got to be honest. I'm just giving my top three locks. Doesn't mean they were the best three locks of the NRL era. Just in my opinion, they were. I'm going to start with number three. Paul Gallen, for me, was definitely in the top three lock forwards of all time. He was, I'm going to say, debuted in 2001 for Cronulla. Not sure how many games he played in that year, but became more of a consistent player from 02 onwards. Retired at the end of 2019. His final game was actually against Manly. I was there week 1, 2019 semi-finals. That was his last game as captain, Cronulla player. He played in the back row a little bit through his career, played in the front row in his career a bit, but overall he was a lock forward. Overall he had the number 13 jersey on for Cronulla, Australia, New South Wales, captain New South Wales from when Ricky Stewart came back in 2011, because Kirk Gidley was captain in that whitewash 2010 series. So I'm going to say when Ricky Stewart came back after Craig Bellamy had a 3-year stint as head coach. Ricky Stewart, I'm going to say, came back 2011, and then he had a great player-coach relationship with Paul Gallen. Incredible player, Sticky. He was an incredible player, but an incredible coach, still is. But the relationship he had with Paul Gallen was pretty special. Even Paul Gallen is on 2GB now on the continuous core team, and he occasionally talks about how close he is with Ricky Stewart. So they were a fantastic combination as a coach and captain. And also Ricky Stewart coached Paul Gallen at Cronulla level as well. Even led Cronulla to a prelim final in 2008 against the Melbourne Storm. 2016 premiership winning captain, first ever captain to lift a trophy up for Cronulla. What can you say about Paul Gallen? I mean, we all know what player he was, and it feels like just yesterday when he retired, but he's actually been out of the game now for 6 years. Obviously, he's gotten his media career at Channel 9 on 2GB. Not everyone's favourite cup of tea, but I appreciate his passion and honesty. Whenever he's got an opinion about something, he's honest. And I respect that because I don't think we see that overly too much in the media. People have their agendas and very biased and here and there. But I love that Paul Gallen can just take his hat off and go, hey, you know what? This is what I really think about this situation. And I'm not going to care about the criticism I receive. I respect that massively. An incredible lock forward. We think about Paul Gallen, his motor, his engine, incredible. Defender. I think it'd probably be fair to say for the majority of his career, apart from the leg drive, the post contact meters, the amount of meters he'd make per game, he probably didn't have. He probably wasn't known as a very exciting attacking forward. But I believe that in the final stages of his career, probably from 2015, 2016 onwards, he developed a passing game. Even if you remember the first try of that 2016 grand final, off the scrum, Paul Gallen and Ben Barber trained for that play earlier in the year, and they said grand final week, let's try it again, and it worked. And that ball back on the inside to Benny Barber off the scrum to score the first try of the 2016 grand final. I don't think you see that from Paul Gallen's game. 5-10 years earlier, for me, he wasn't a ball playing lock like a lot of them came in 2019. Cameron Murray, Jake Travojevic, a lot the locks changed from that hard running extra forward to more of a second 5'8". Glenn Stewart was probably one of the first ball playing locks that really changed that position. An incredible defender, Paul Gallen. His work ethic, unbelievable. An 80-minute player for the majority of his career. A terrific captain for Cronulla. For New South Wales, personally, I believed he was probably captain too long. But I thought overall his obviously his Origin career wasn't great with success. But at the end of the day, he was the captain of that drought breaking 2014 Origin. Origin series win. He was an incredible player. Paul Gallen is my number 3. Number 2, 2014 Premiership winner and Clive Churchill Medal winner, Sam Burgess. What a player. Came to South Sydney, going to say 2010, when John Lang was still coach. So 2010, 2011, I'm going to say around then. And Russell Crowe brought him to the club. He almost signed at Manly. So I'm very disappointed. Paul Gallen, in 2008, at the end of the 2008 season, Manly offered Paul Gallen a lot of money to join them. And he knocked it back to stay at Cronulla. So a couple of locks at Manly that, we had Glenn Stewart, so I can't complain. But those two players almost joined at Manly. Sam Burgess, oh man, what a player. Honestly, I think it's fair to say he'd be, in the NRL era at least, the best POM that's ever come over to play in the NRL. His grand final performance, a broken cheekbone in the opening run of the game, meets one of his best mates, James Graham from the bye round, who got him good and broke his cheekbone, played 80 minutes with a broken cheekbone in a grand final. Man, I think he's one of the toughest players in the NRL era. At the end of 2014, he goes to play Union for the 2015 season, comes back to league, plays another few years at South Sydney. He was actually playing when Wayne Bennett first came to the club in 2019, and then retired at the end of that season. Obviously, he's a head coach now over in the Super League, and I've got no doubt within the next few years he'll probably end up being the head coach at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. A leader on and off the field. He had troubles off the field, but it sounds crazy, right? Like there's a lot of stuff off the field that he's been in trouble before, but maybe that's what makes him sound like such a good coach, because maybe players feel like they can relate to him. Maybe a coach that isn't perfect always off the field, maybe that's what a player needs so that they can understand that, okay, not everyone's perfect and everyone will stuff up from time to time. And Sam Burgess could teach a lot of players off the field and on the field lessons through mistakes he's made off the field. I just think he's a leader, and I think he'll end up being a brilliant head coach in the NRL. I think he'll end up being a fantastic coach. He didn't have much success in the Super League in 2025 as a head coach, but the way in which he's able to communicate with his players. There was a clip earlier in the year. Can't remember his name. I'm not across the Super League overall. Um, I've got some knowledge of it, but not overly much. But there was a 17-year-old kid about to make a debut, and there was a beautiful clip of Sam Burgess talking to him just before he came on the field. Um, if you're a Super League podcaster, please let me know who that kid was in the comments. Pretty emotional scenes, and Sam Burgess giving him a hug just before he ran out. That's what a player needs, and I think too often we probably see coaches at halftime blowing up in the coach's box and at halftime blowing up in the sheds. But I think there's something really special about seeing something on camera of a player, of a coach and a player hugging, and um, showing that the coach not just cares about his career, not just cares about his job, but he cares about the player. Um, and Sam Burgess, you see that. You see that he understands he's not perfect. He makes mistakes, but I feel like maybe those kind of coaches make the best coaches. You know, I mean, you look at Wayne Bennett, Craig Bellamy off the field, you probably think, oh, leaders, they don't make many mistakes at all. But a player that has been in trouble off the field a couple of times to now a head coach, and maybe they're the best teachers. So I think he's an incredible coach, and he will be an incredible coach in the NRL. I've got no doubts about that. Whether he ends up at South Sydney, which I think he will, but if I just talk about him for a player quickly and what he was able to achieve, his offloading ability, the way in which he could play 80 minutes most weeks, he could play prop. Played a little bit of edge forward in his career, not much at all, but mainly had the 13 on his back, and did in that 2014 grand final. When I think of Sam Burgess, I think a lock forward. Achieved so much early in his career, debuted in the Super League, played international football quite early on in his career for England. As I mentioned, retired at the end of the 2019 season, but we all remember him as one of the toughest players to ever play in the NRL era. And look, didn't play an overly long career in the NRL. You know, you're probably talking about 8 or 9 years, but what he did in that 8 or 9 years will be invoked in rugby league history, not just South Sydney history, but rugby league history for years. And there'll always be, when I think of South Sydney, people think of Sattler, broken jaw, the images after that grand final, but the images of Sam Burgess going on the shoulders of his brothers after the game and pointing to his mum in the crowd with his cheekbones swollen. Um, you know, that was special. That was so good. Um, very close with Wayne Bennett. He's very close with Michael Maguire. And a really interesting story that I heard on a podcast a few years ago of Sam Burgess when he had the broken cheekbone. 20 minutes into the game, he was really struggling, and Michael Maguire had 2 words, and he said he spoke to the trainer, and he said 2 words for Sam Burgess, John Sattler, and then that came back to Sam Burgess. I think it made him go, you know what, we've got an opportunity here. He's got an opportunity to do something special, and he certainly did that. Uh, when I think grand final memories, I think of Sam Burgess in that 2014 grand final. An amazing performance. Now, my number one lock forward of the NRL era. Now, a lot of you will disagree because I'd say from probably 2022, 2023 onwards, I'm going to say 23 onwards because the Cowboys got to a prelim against Parramatta in 2022. Jason Taumalolo for me. I think he's the best lock forward that the game has ever seen in the NRL era. I think Bradley Clyde, he may have retired at the end of 2000. I know he was at Canberra for most of his career, but did he end up with the Bulldogs or something? I'll have to double check that. He was what people talk about him as one of the best lock forwards that there's ever been. But Jason Taumalolo, sure, he's not the same player. But I mean, I wanted to have Isaiah Yeo in there, right? And I probably would have had him, in the top three if I could. I tried to fit him in there. But if you look at Isaiah Yeo, he debuted in 2014. And for about 6 years, at the end of 2019, if you mentioned Isaiah Yeo, you think, okay, yeah, a good player, he can do a job. But it probably wasn't until the 2020 season where he started to become an elite player. When he moved from centre to second row, he was a bit of a utility off the bench at times through his career. But 2020 onwards, Trent Barrett was the assistant coach at Penrith, and he came up to Ivan Cleary and he said, Isaiah Yeo needs to be the number 13, and let's develop the ball playing lock that he's got in him. So Trent Barrett, not a great head coach, as we know, but as an assistant coach, he's a premiership winning assistant coach at the Broncos. He's pretty good as an assistant coach and the ideas he can come up with. But Jason Taumalolo, I just feel like it was a more dominant lock for longer, as we talk about right now. Isaiah Yeo, 2020 to 2025, an elite player. But Jason Taumalolo, I'd say from about 2013, 2014 to the end of 2022, the best lock forward in the game. He was. If I do this podcast, talk about the best locks in 5 years from now, Isaiah Yeo will probably be in the top three. But as I'm talking right now in 2025, Jason Taumalolo, premiership winner in 2015, grand final appearance in 2017 against the Melbourne Storm, prelim final 2022. Todd Payten, as a head coach, probably hasn't got the best out of him. Personally, I don't think he played him the way he should have. Keep him at lock, get him 70, 80 minutes in, not 40, 50 minutes. I know he was trying to do the right thing by Jason Taumalolo to make his career a lot longer, but he's the only lock forward of the Dally M, of the NRL era to win a Dally M. I think alongside Cooper Cronk. I'm going to say 2016, 2018. Jason Taumalolo, for me, is the best lock of the NRL era. As of now, as it stands right now in 2025. And I think actually this year he had a pretty, especially the first half of his season against the Cowboys, I thought he was really good. They've got Ruben Cotter in that 13 jersey now, but when Taumalolo comes on and plays a bit of middle, plays a bit of lock, plays a bit of front row, he still does a good job for them. And I'm surprised about the criticism that he gets. I mean, sure, he's not the player he was, and the 10-year deal puts a lot of pressure on his name, but what a player. Like, he's still a very good player. If Manly signed Jason Taumalolo, I'd be over the moon. And he's not the same player, but if we talk about the most dominant lock of the NRL era, Jason Taumalolo has to be up there. One player that I really wanted to get on the list as a Manly fan was Ben Kennedy. What he achieved at Newcastle, I mean, even Andrew Johns in the 2001 grand final has come out plenty of times in the media and said, even though I won the Clive Churchill medal in 2001, I did not deserve it. Ben Kennedy was the best player. Johns had an incredible game, don't get me wrong. His kicking game was the best kicking game performance of a halfback in NRL history, without a doubt. 2001, his kicking game was amazing. Not just that, his game was incredible, and I'm glad he got the Clive Churchill medal. But Ben Kennedy was, a debuted at the Raiders, ended up at Newcastle, won a premiership in 2001, goes to the Manly Sea Eagles in November 2004, getting ready for the 2005 season. 2005, Michael Monaghan's captain for Manly. 2006, Ben Kennedy's now the captain, playing his final year of the NRL. And personally, I believe when Manly won that 2008 grand final, 2 years after he retired, there's no way they win it without Ben Kennedy coming to the club. From what I hear, he changed the standards of the club. Ben Kennedy played for New South Wales, Australia, an incredible lock forward. I just couldn't put him in there. He had this beautiful combination with Brett Stewart, this offload out the back, finding Brett Stewart. I couldn't put him in there, Ben Kennedy, but a player as a Manly fan I would have loved to put in there. Changed the standards at the club. You think about Des Hasler being a premiership winning coach. I reckon Ben Kennedy was the closest thing the Manly club has ever seen from a player from a coach being on the field at the same time, player coach sort of role. An incredible lock forward for Manly and the Knights. Played a lot of back row for Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, but when he played a lot of lock as well, he was one of the best lock forwards. Such a tough player, such a tough man, such a great underrated player in my opinion, Ben Kennedy, because he retired 20 years ago, 19 years ago, but he is remembered, in my opinion, as one of the great Manly players of all time. If you had to select a 17 of the best Newcastle Knights players and the best Manly players of their history, Ben Kennedy would have to be in both teams. And I genuinely believe that the way that those premiership winning players in 2008 and 2011 talk about Ben Kennedy and what he did to the club, it wasn't just his aggression, the way he could change games. It was his leadership on and off the field that changed the standards of the club. Ben Kennedy, in my opinion, was the best buy Manly have had in their history, probably alongside Jamie Lyon. So Jason Taumalolo, for me, the best lock of the NRL era. I know a lot of you will be hearing that going, are you kidding? He hasn't played that well in 3 years. He's had a lot of injuries too in 3 years. I think he's done his best, and sure, he hasn't lived up to the pay packet in those last 3 years from 2023 onwards. But even in 2022, I thought he had a terrific season. One of the best lock forwards of all time, Jason Taumalolo. For me, the best lock forward the NRL era has seen. Will he ever get back to that dynamic player? Probably not. He's in his early 30s now. His 10-year deal finishes, I think, at the end of 2027. I don't know. I just think even his performance in the 2015 grand final, man. One thing about Jason Taumalolo, I think aggressive, defensively strong, offload ability, but I think quick play the balls. The way he was able to just march so many meters up the field and then just all of a sudden within 2 seconds play the ball. And Jake Granville played his best football off the back of Jason Taumalolo's running game. The forward pack they had, Matt Scott, Jimmy Tarmow, Jason Taumalolo at lock forward. Man, how good was that forward pack? And now they get, Reuben Cotter. Oh man, the Cowboys have been very lucky with the forwards that they've had for many, many years. Jake Granville, great combination with Jimmy Tarmow. They just knew where to be and what to do. They combined really well as a hooker and a lock. They did a great job. But Jason Taumalolo, my best lock forward of all time. Please let me know who your best lock forwards are in the comments, in your top 3. And I've got no doubt that a lot of you will have Isaiah Yeo, Cameron Murray, a lot of these kind of players. Victor Radley winning back-to-back premierships in that 13 jersey. A lot of you will disagree with what I've said. I reckon Sam Burgess, a lot of you would have him in there, but Paul Gallen, Jason Taumalolo, I'm not sure if you guys would, but I think Paul Gallen has to be there just based on his 19-year career of the NRL, playing majority of that as a lock forward. And sure, he didn't achieve, as I mentioned, much in the Origin period, but what a player he was. But number 3, Paul Gallen. Number 2, Sam Burgess. Number 1, Jason Taumalolo. This is the Rugby League Forecast podcast. If you haven't done already, please follow me on Spotify. And if you can please subscribe on the YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it, because I love doing this. I love, love talking about the greatest game of all, and I want you guys to feel very involved in this podcast community that I'm trying to create. So thanks very much for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time as we do the bench utilities, the best number 14s in the game.